The 15-Point Plan is part of the Win Make Give podcast network.
Welcome to another episode of the 15-Point Plan podcast. My name is Ryan Park Gregg, and as always, I am joined by my amazing co-host, Jacqueline Smith. The goal of this podcast is simply to make sure you have the most energy possible and the least stress possible by following a system that we call the 15-Point Plan that gives you daily items to check off. And when you do one of these items, it's pretty dang simple. But when you do all 15 of these, or maybe 10 to 15 of these every single day for an extended period of time, I really feel, Jacqueline, like we start to become a superhero or superhuman and get the strength and get this energy level that I love. And that's why I do this podcast. That's why I follow this system. But let's be real, Jacqueline, just like anything in life, I get going sometimes and I stop. And when I stop, it's hard for me to jump back on. So today, what are we talking about, Jacqueline?
Well, today we're going to talk about something that I think some people have kind of a negative connotation with, but it's actually a very powerful tool, especially when we're trying to build new habits. And Ryan, that is accountability. Accountability is so important, and it's a crucial part of building new habits. So we thought we would dive in today and talk about it a little bit and see if we can't help more of our listeners establish stronger habits using the 15-Point Plan.
That's right. Accountability. And like you said, it can kind of have this negative idea around it. Like, oh gosh, I don't want to do that. Or I don't want somebody telling me what I need to do or telling me what I shouldn't do. But for me, the more I've learned about myself over life is the more accountable I am to myself, the higher level I'm going to show up. And then I actually start to crave accountability. I want somebody to tell me, hey, Ryan, you could be doing this or you could be not doing that. So for me, I've grown to love accountability, but I wasn't always that way. So Jacqueline, if somebody's not sure, like, what are you talking about? What is accountability?
Yeah, I mean, it's really the willingness to take responsibility for our actions, decisions, and commitments. And I'd say in context of, the 15-Point Plan, it means consistently tracking our progress and staying committed to the daily habits that we talk about with the 15-Point Plan, and just ensuring that we're in alignment with our goals, right? So accountability is accounting for what I'm doing, really, right? So it can be tracking, it can be reporting results, right?
Absolutely. And I can see why people might think, oh gosh, accountability, accounting, I don't want to do that. I don't want to balance my checkbook. There, I just gave away a little bit on my age. Who writes checks anymore, by the way?
I don't know. I bet you some people listening don't even know what a check is. A check is a piece of paper and you write stuff on it and it's kind of like money.
That's right. But accounting. And I have an accountant. So if I have an accountant in my life and I need help with my finances, well, why wouldn't I have somebody that could help me in accountability in all areas of my life? Because I pay some money for an accountant, but it makes my life so much easier. So accountability actually then should make our life easier and should make our life better, right?
Absolutely. And I think there's two types of people in the world. There's people who want to focus on what they can't control, right? They often show up as pretty negative, complaining, and it's always someone else's or something else's fault, right? Yeah. They're unhappy, they're stressed, they're overwhelmed. Talking about our last episode, they're sore. Yeah. I picture those people being sore all the time.
Right.
Kind of like the Eeyores in your life. And then there's the people that choose to focus on what they can control.
Right.
They focus on their habits. They focus on taking ownership of things. And I find that the first type of person, they typically don't like accountability because they want everyone else to be accountable, right? And they don't want to take ownership and agency. And then we have the second type of person who, like you said, you actually crave accountability. We seek it out. I have a business coach, I have a personal coach. I want accountability. When I wasn't in the habit of getting to the gym every morning, working out, I hired someone to show up at the gym for me. I didn't just complain about how it's too hard to get up in the morning and how I don't like to do it and woe is me. I decided to seek out accountability so that I could build this habit so that eventually it would feel unnatural for me to not work out in the morning, right? So that's how I think of it. I think of it as if we seek accountability, we're probably the kind of person who focuses on what we can control, and we're the kind of person who takes ownership and agency over what's going on in our life instead of blaming always external factors.
Yeah. Jacqueline, I'm curious, have you always been this way? Have you always been accountable to yourself and seeking coaches and paying people to help you show up? Or what do you think?
Absolutely not. No. I was at a time in my life, Ryan, I might have talked about this at one point, but it's a defining moment in my life. And I will tell you, I was sitting in my kitchen in Victoria, BC. And if my friend is, I don't know if she listens to this all the time, but my friend Lindsay was there visiting me. And I was in a down and out place in my life. I had made a mess of my life. I felt like I was not where I wanted to be. And she had just gone back from Ecuador, and she was teaching an outdoor, sort of retreat there. She was taking people kayaking in some of the most beautiful places I'd ever seen pictures of. I hadn't been anywhere. I had, I was broke. I was broken. And I was complaining to her about my life. And then I was like, gosh, how do you get to do all these fun, amazing things? And I'm here, down and out, broken. And she looked at me and she said, I just decided that this is what I wanted my life to look like. And I made choices and decisions that were in alignment with what I wanted. And I don't know what it was about the way she said it. It just sounded so simple. I just decided what I wanted. And then I made choices and decisions that were in alignment with what I wanted. And whoa, look what happened. So that was when I decided to change.
I have never heard that story, Jacqueline. That's super cool. And what a good friend. That's a real friend. The friend that's like, hey, shut up.
Yeah.
You just do it. You have to make the decision and the choice.
Quit being a victim. Yeah.
Quit being a victim. And maybe she would have told you that a couple of years ago and you would have been like, ew, get out of here. But we go through these stages and we hit these places of our life where when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And you might have heard that message before of, you just do it, Jacqueline, just freaking Nike, just go do it. And you're like, yeah, whatever. But when you're broke and you're broken, you start to seek things out. And what a perfect message from a great friend to just shake you up a little bit. So if you haven't gotten that shaken up moment, maybe listening to this is that moment for you. Maybe you're like both Jacqueline and I have been, you're broke and you're broken and you're sitting there going, why me? Well, let's just start with step number one. Get out there and get a little movement, get some fresh air in your lungs, drink some water, do these things that are simple, that are free, that are going to start this compounding effect of getting you on that winning streak. And then we'll take some major action. So I know now why you've done this and how people can start accountability, because you did it from a place of, I want to make a change, dang it. And look what it's now done for you. So now we have, let's fast forward. I don't know how many years ago was that?
Oh my gosh. So that would have been, I was right around 30 years old then. So, and I'm 46. So 16 years ago.
Wow. Okay. And for our listeners that don't know, how long have you been in the real estate world and business?
I've been in for just over 10 years. I just had my 10-year anniversary last year.
Okay. So 16 years ago, you started making some changes. And then 6 years after that, which might sound like a long time, but in life, in the length of life, especially if you're like me and you want to live to be 100, what's a couple years? So 6 years into that, you started getting some momentum. And when people ask me, like, how do you find success in real estate? I think the exact same thing applies to life. It's the 2 C's equals C. Consistency plus coachability equals compound success. So you started getting this momentum, and then you get into real estate a few years later, and now and I know you're humble, but I'm going to say it for you. You're one of the top real estate agents and teams in the entire country. We are within an organization of 400 teams, and you are constantly referred to as the person to talk to. Hey, you're curious on this? Talk to Jacqueline. Hey, there's these things going on. Talk to Jacqueline. So I'm going to brag a little bit for you because you made a change a handful of years ago, and that put you on this path of significant and major success. So there is a reason for everybody out there thinking, start somewhere. If you're broke and you're broken, look at what Jacqueline has accomplished over, it's been some years, but you got to start somewhere. And Jacqueline, so I'm guessing you started 16 years ago, and it's been this beautiful path layered with roses and daisies all along the way, and you've never stopped. Is that right? Is that right? You've just never stopped?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Absolutely. So no, even with the 15-point plan, I've shared this lots before. I was on and off the 15-point plan wagon for years. I would use it. I would do it for 30 days. I'd start feeling good. I'd stop doing it. And I did that over and over again until I got sick and tired of it, kind of like I was sick and tired in the kitchen. So what I did was I decided to start a challenge, and I made it a public challenge. And I invited everyone on my social media, whoever was willing, to join me on a 30-day 15-point plan challenge. That was going to do one thing for me. It was going to get me on track with getting back into the 15-point plan again. And then at the end of that 30 days, I invited who feels amazing, who did this with me for 30 days, who feels amazing, who wants to keep doing this. And we decided that we were going to be like the 15-point planners for life. And we continued on with using it. And what I found was doing the 30-day, that's great. It gets you out of a slump. But over time, what it has done is it has brought me way more peace in my life. It has brought me, my anxiety is gone. And I've ended up making really lasting changes that are actually bigger changes in my life, but they didn't happen overnight. Like I found hobbies that I wouldn't have found, that I really needed to add to my life so that my life wasn't just consumed with obligations and work commitments. And that brings a sense of fulfillment and gives your brain a break, and I never would have got there had I not decided I'm going to live with the 15-point plan consistently. And how I'm going to do that is by bringing others along with me. I'm going to become sort of an icon, right, for the 15-point plan.
Yeah.
And I have to do it because one thing I won't be is a hypocrite.
That's right.
I think when I look back now on things in my life, I make them very public. And I think that's one of the hallmarks of accountability is you've got to make public declarations. Now, you don't need to post it on social media, but you have to make it public to someone. And maybe that is a coach, but maybe you can't afford to hire a coach, but you could say, hey, Ryan, hey, Jacqueline, reach out to us on Instagram. Is it okay if I text you a picture of my 15-point plan tracker every night?
Exactly.
I'm offering, if you want to do that, if you need that accountability, there's no shame, by the way, in needing accountability. I love people that want accountability in their life. So you could reach out to us, or you could invite, like I did, invite some friends. Hey, I found this 15-point plan thing, I've tried doing it for a week at a time or a month at a time, and I want to make it a habit in my life. Who wants to do it with me? Make your own group. Make your own accountability group. Make your own group text. And if you're the leader, you're the instigator.
Right.
Unless you don't value integrity in your life, you're probably going to do it.
That's right. And I think that's the number one reason why so many of us quit, Jacqueline. It's really easy to quit on yourself. Yeah. Nobody's going to know if I don't go to the gym tomorrow morning.
Yep.
Nobody will know that. And my fitness journey has evolved over the years. And one of the things that really helped me, shout out my old coach, Ryan Jensen, who you can find on social media and on Instagram if you want an actual fitness coach. And he would say, hey, we're in a group. And every single day for over a year, we worked out at 4 a.m. And all we did was we jumped into a WhatsApp channel and we had to post a picture of us in the gym at 4 a.m. You didn't have to post the whole workout, but then what that did was we all joined each other on socials. And I know you said you don't have to do it on socials, but that's another way. Yeah. I started sharing Instagram stories every morning of me in the gym. And I thought, well, dude, I got to do this. I got to show up. I told Coach I would do it. And I respected Coach. And so I kept doing it and kept doing it. And then next thing I know, I go to these events and people are like, hey, I see you working out. And I'm like, oh, shoot, they saw me. I got to keep doing it. I've made a public declaration. It became a part of my identity. And that may or may not be the best thing forever. And it's okay to change your identity. But for me, it also helped to just say, hey, I post this video every single day. And that's my accountability, because if I do this, I know I got to do it well. And it starts being fun. So people will stop. They'll quit on themselves, myself included, Jacqueline included. We'll quit on ourselves a whole lot easier. But if we start to say, hey, this is fun and I'm seeing benefits. Hey, you want to do this with me? And someone, well, now I feel good. Well, we're not going to let you down.
Yeah.
We want to do it with you. And so get that accountability group. Start with a couple friends. And if you're up for it, and I tell you what, it's pretty freaking uncomfortable to share a workout video on social media. And when you do uncomfortable things, your body's going to build that resiliency muscle also. Share it on social media. Tag us. Tag me. I love when people tag us on the 15-Point Plan podcast. Hey, I was listening to the podcast and here's my workout video.
Yeah. And if you don't want to post your workout video, post your 15-Point Plan tracker. Here's a quote that I'll share as we wrap up that I think summarizes this concept of accountability. It's that which is tracked improves. That which is tracked and reported improves exponentially. So if you're looking to make changes in your life, listen, this is not for people who are not wanting to make changes in their life, right? If you're happy, you're fulfilled, and you're great, keep doing what you're doing and reach out to us and tell us what you're doing, right?
Right.
If you are finding that you're overwhelmed or lacking energy, feeling stressed out, you're wanting more happiness, less stress, like we talk about, then you have to take ownership and agency over the habits. Are you building habits that are supporting less overwhelm and less stress and more happiness? If you're not, you either need to stop complaining about it and just be cool with it, or you need to make changes and take ownership of it. And then when you're reporting something to someone else, that's what you're talking about. That's the power of accountability, of peer-to-peer accountability or coach-to-peer accountability. When you have to report something, it's like accountability on steroids, right? And you're going to see results, you're going to see change, and you're going to start feeling better.
That's right. And who doesn't want to have the most energy possible? We all have this insane amount of energy within us, but it's so easy for it to get blocked. So start being sick and tired of being sick and tired, dang it, and act on it. And I'm going to end it with a cool story, Jacqueline, because when you post these videos, are you going to post a video of you half, you know what I mean? Like half-assing it, if I can say that on here. Like, no, you're going to post a video of you going hard, of you, and then you can watch that video and you can see your form. So last night, my son Bentley sent me a message. Hey, Dad, can you send me this code? I want to download a new video on my phone. I said, well, what's the game? He said, well, it's this basketball game. I said, okay, cool, 25 push-ups. And he's like, ha ha. I said, no, for real. And he said, well, I'm at dinner right now. Can you remind me later? And I said, no. I said, you're going to send me a video later. And if you don't, I'm going to delete the app. And he said, okay. So at 9:30 last night, I get a video of my 13-year-old son doing push-ups and 25 push-ups. And I was like, this kid's getting strong, because he knew he had to send me a video. And if he didn't send me the video, I was for sure going to delete that app the next day. So I might be a little hard on the parenting, but I want my kid to be strong and have the fitness and energy just like we're talking about. And he sent me that video. And I was just so proud. And I looked at it and I went, this kid's got good form. So I think he knew Dad's watching me and I'm watching myself now. So he had that accountability within the group to do what he needed to do. And I was just super proud of that. So as always, send us a message. We will be here for your accountability. We will watch your videos. We will watch your form if you want that. If you don't want that, look, you could even just send us a message saying, hey, I was out in the garden today and I did my hobby by planting these beautiful flowers. I did some service today and I gave back to the community. I love hearing all those. So send us messages on social media, Jacqueline Ray Smith and Ryan Park Gregg. And don't forget, check all of the other amazing podcasts as well as our history of podcasts at winmakegive.com.
Thank you, everyone. Stay accountable.
Bye, everyone.